It has been now 10 years since the passing of the great man, Nelson Mandela. Today, the Nelson Mandela is outlining the programs that will be followed during the month of July. But now I'm joined by the CEO of Nelson Mandela Museum, Dr. Vuyani Booi, just to tell us more about what can we expect, because I understand that there are series or a number of programs that are lining up.
Yes, I think people of South Africa, they should expect a lot of activities. And amongst those activities, it will be the unveiling of Nelson Mandela statues that will be taking place on the 18th July 2023. The first statue that will be officially unveiled is at Booi building, where the actual museum of Nelson Mandela is in Tata. That statue represents Nelson Mandela as the international statesman, a reconciler, a freedom fighter. And then the second statue that will be unveiled on the same date, 18th July 2023, will be unveiled at what is called Nelson Mandela Heritage and Youth Center in Nkunu. And that one, just a beautiful symbolic representation of Nelson Mandela as a traditional man, a man that is grounded, to his culture, heritage, and history, grounded, to his people. So that is the kind of work that we'll be doing. We'll not only be doing that, but we also plan to have Nelson Mandela International Public Lecture that will be led by our Honorable Minister of Sport, Arts and Culture, Mr. Kodwa. So that will be happening here in Nkunu. So there are lots of other activities, but central to these activities, it will be the donation of a library to a local school called Zingisa Comprehensive School, and that school is here in Tata. We are trying by all means to ensure that the values of Nelson Mandela are shared by everyone, and we are trying by all means necessary to ensure that the values of Nelson Mandela, the legacy and the philosophy of Nelson Mandela is realized and understood by all of us here in South Africa.
During your media engagements, you are so critical of people that are using Nelson Mandela's name for their own interests. What pushes you to make an alarm on that?
I am, and I will continue doing that. And one thing that pushes me to do that, it is because I am very much passionate about the work of Nelson Mandela. I am very much passionate about his contribution, to the society and to our freedom. And look, Nelson Mandela was advocate of human rights. He was a reconciler. Above all, he was a founding father of our democracy, the greatest father of this South African nation. So there is no way that at any point in time we see people crisscrossing this country, calling the name of Nelson Mandela just for their own convenience and benefit. And when the very same people, when they get to the position of political power, they forget the values of Nelson Mandela. They forget the philosophy of Nelson Mandela. They even bury the legacy of Nelson Mandela. And the things that they do when they're in these positions, they're very much contrary to what Nelson Mandela actually stood for. So as Nelson Mandela Museum, it is our responsibility and obligation to teach people of South Africa what Nelson Mandela stood for, and to call upon those people who are misusing his name for their own benefits and also malicious actions to stop doing that. That's what we are standing, because the moment they do that, it would have serious, strong repercussions on the work that we are doing as Nelson Mandela Museum.